didn't say, so to visit the widows and fatherless in their affliction and to keep yourself unspotted from the world. I just put the visitation and vigilance because of some alliteration. Vigilance means to keep watch, right? We are to keep watch, keep ourselves unspotted from the world. And while we didn't talk about it, I think, you know what it means to visit the widows and orphans? Does it mean show up and say hi?
That's what it means to meet their needs.
Yeah, it means more than just, I mean, certainly stopping by and saying hi is not a bad idea, but if you visit a situation, I mean, you're going to do something about it, right? And that's what he was just talking about being doers and not hearers only. Because I just remember being a little kid first reading it and like visiting them. Well, that seems simple enough. And I guess it is simple, but there are probably other things we should be doing to help people. So on to verse 1. If you'll just turn to, well, I have a verse in pretty much every slide, but if you want to turn to James chapter 2. It says, my brothers, show no partiality as you hold the faith in our Lord Jesus Christ, the Lord of glory. So, you know, like that, we talked about, and we also talked about, you know, pure religion, if you recall, last week that mentioned specifically. And I think this one, and keep in mind, when this is a different chapter, right? It's only like one sentence later that we're talking about this. So we really haven't, in my opinion, changed subjects so much when we go to this. How about, I mean, we haven't changed subject in as much as we talked about pure religion. Now he's going to kind of help us, guide us to kind of what pure religion is. So I guess we need to start off maybe with a definition. You can see my questions up there. I have partiality. I put what is it? That's for y'all, not for me. And we are going to use some synonyms, by the way, and I'll use them interchangeably. Favoritism, maybe one or two others that will randomly come out as I'm speaking. So.
If you think of partiality, it's bad, but sometimes we are partial because we're partial to our family or, you know, or to.
Yeah, it's
we
like
all have friends that are closer than others, but that doesn't mean it's a bad partiality.
yeah, it's like we were talking about, Sean, we were talking about a week or so ago, we were talking about, what was it? Because I was thinking about it that way, but yeah, it's not all bad, but generally the way we use it typically. So partiality generally is going to be bad, but it doesn't have to be just that.
Yeah, the scripture says we're to do good to all people, especially.
Be partial to all. Yeah.
Not to be partial to the Lord's Son.
Yeah. I know what you're saying. If you're partial to everybody at the same time, you're really not partial. Or that just means you treat them all the same. Just.
I think that sentence there is also, it's basically saying that not to put anything before God.
Oh, for sure, yeah, we learned that in the Old Testament, or we should have learned it anyway once we got there in the Ten Commandments, I hope.
So I think he's reiterating that.
Oh, yeah, for sure. But yeah, we're talking about being partial or showing favoritism. I think there are some things that you should show favoritism in. I mean, I guess it's kind of an unusual way of putting it, but do you show favoritism to your spouse? Do you treat all the other spouses the same as yours? Doesn't work that way. That's going to cause problems. That's what that's going to do. So if you look at favoritism that way, which is a bit odd, I have to admit, we do have to show favoritism in something.
Well, my father said, my earthly father said that when you marry, you forsake all others. They're not, and he says that does not mean I'm only talking about sex. He means every
there's a commitment there. Also, if you're going to show, I guess we could call it favoritism between somebody who needs a meal and somebody who does not because they're hungry, I think we can show favoritism. I mean, if they both need something to eat, but one is poor and the other is not, I
And you only
think,
have one meal.
I think showing favoritism is okay.
Yeah, you only have one meal to give.
Yeah.
Hungry.
We should show, I mean, in other words, we should show favoritism toward charity, I guess is maybe a better way to put it.
Yeah.
If not, a bit strange.
We need to show partiality towards the truth, right?
Yeah, and
I mean, I know we're talking about others and all, but that's,
yeah, in this day and age, it's big time problem.
But of course, like I said, that's just me having a little fun with the definition of partiality, because when we're talking about it here, it is definitely in the negative light. And that's generally how we're going to use it throughout the rest of this chapter. So are there any, my second little column over there says, is favoritism common in the church? And you can answer that as in any church, you can answer it in this church. There's favoritism in this church, we need to know about it. No point in hiding it. But you don't have to answer for this church. I mean, it could be church in general. Churches.
There was a lot more of it during the time of the New Testament, because many of those people had slaves. And their slaves would have to work all the way up until summertime. So if they had a meal or something like that, they would prefer themselves over the slaves, and the slaves would go without eating because all of the food would be gone. And he's saying, don't treat everybody as a brother in Christ and not as a slave. Don't prefer your rich brethren over your slaves.
Yeah, that was, and you know, we don't think of it as that big a deal, I don't think, but back then at that time in their culture, that was just the way it was. Teaching against being partial was that, against being partial was really a pretty big deal. Just like Jesus' Sermon on the Mount, you know, some of the things he said was pretty rough for people at the time.
They were also having a problem with Jews and Gentiles, like the Jews were treating the Jews better than the Gentiles.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the whole Samaritan story. The Samaritan.
Yeah, he's trying to teach us something about who was our neighbor in that story.
about even amongst the apostles.
Talking about,
Supposed to be a favorite.
talking about who was the favorite?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, between the
The
two
apostles.
brothers, yeah.
They even argued about it.
Well, their mother got involved in that. So.
Another thing too, in some churches, we see that they are not interested in visiting with the visitors and finding out who they are, inviting them to church. They just congregate afterwards with their best friends, and you have little groups of people that are ignoring. We went to a church one time where we had our son and daughter-in-law and 3 children, and nobody in that congregation talked to us. No. Nobody said hi to us. And in a class, John and Keith both made a comment, and they didn't comment on that either. And so some churches are like that. And we need to be careful not to be like that. I don't think we're like that here. I think we notice people and talk to people that, you know, we love, but they're not our best friends. Maybe we haven't known them 20 years or whatever. But we need to be careful about that and to know that there are people who don't talk to everyone. And we need to know everything.
Yeah, I think the one thing that always made me feel welcome when I went to a new church was the second time I went, they knew my name.
Some people are good at it.
But I'm just saying, that there's, when, especially the pastor, you know, when they, it's like, there's one church I went to, I went there following the boy. Didn't get the boy, but, the second time I showed up, they were like calling me by name, they knew who I was, even if I wasn't with them, they knew, okay, you know, they knew they knew me. And I'm like, I just met you, I don't even know your name.
Yeah, it's a skill. My wife is not here, she might be listening on YouTube, but we attended a church in Norfolk, Virginia. It's the home of the world's largest naval base, if you didn't know. And you talk about new people every week, not once in a while, but she's well practiced at learning people's names. Of course, some people are better at that than others, but I'm just saying it's a skill. Maybe we don't get to practice enough, maybe that's a problem, but if there are new people and you don't talk to them, well, you're not getting much practice, and you're not gonna get any better, that's for sure. But I don't know, different people are interesting. I think even those outside the world know what stability is. We should know it at least twice as well. I just made that up. Are there any biblical examples of people being partial or biased? So think back to any stories where, that's on my question. Are any examples in the Bible of people showing favoritism? And I come up with one immediately. The rest of them, honestly, I had to think about it for a while. Couldn't seem to get it into my head what my own lesson was about. Joseph was the one I thought of immediately. Well, do you mean because of Jacob? Yeah. And that's what I was thinking of. Who's Jacob's favorite? Well, that would be Joseph, right? He was favored among the other brothers. Did that cause Joseph any issues? Yeah, I'm afraid it did. Something about being sold into slavery. I don't know if it's worth being the favorite for that sort of thing. I would have to say no, if you were going to ask me.
Rebecca and Isaac had favorites, and
Yes.
that caused problems too.
That is causing problems today. We're still in a 3,500-year war for what you was just saying. Far favoritism. If you think it's not important, listen to that. What about, I thought of one more that was, was God partial? Now this is I guess maybe a trick question. Was he partial to Cain's offering? Or Abel's offering, rather, sorry. Was he partial?
Because it was wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if you would call it being partial or not, but he preferred one over the other.
It seems to me like God's partial to doing things right.
Yeah, it's one way to put it.
Not doing it,
It's
not doing it.
partial to his offering.
Well,
Actually,
you may have
look at
been
everything.
partial to the person because one was good, one was evil.
Yeah,
I
there
don't
was,
say that for sure, but.
yeah, well, sin was crouching at the door, every one of them. That can't be a good thing.
There was a heart condition on both sides. One was evil and one was good.
Yeah, I mean, clearly, there was some sort of attitude problem. Cain's attitude toward God was not what it should be. I mean, he didn't, maybe this is a bad example, but when David was finally realized what he was done, he was sorrowful for it. Cain was not, that we know of, Cain was not. Cain went out, I don't know what he did was any worse than what David did, of course, but David did appear to be sorrowful afterwards. Someone look at Samuel 16:7, and you'll have to read it, because I didn't put it in my notes, to see why favoritism is so bad. 1 Samuel 16:7. Like I said, you can just read it when you get there.
But the Lord said to Samuel, do not look at his appearance or at the height of his stature, because I have rejected him. For God sees not as man sees, for man looks at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart.
So why it's so bad is simply because God doesn't do it. Why should we? It's the way I tend to look at it, simply. So
What time?
that was 1 Samuel 16:7.
She's our example, that's fine.
Mm-hmm. So tying back to our previous verse, and what was it, 27 of the last chapter, our pure religion, you can't have, but that's what he's just put down in front of us. I put this in here in case there's any psychology going to discuss this, but I looked it up and I was like, well, who knows? Maybe there's somebody in here. I'll read the topic. This is psychology. When you have looking at favoritism of what causes it from their point of view. Confirmation bias. You've probably heard of that one. That one is kind of like let's see, what would be spinach. Spinach is bad. I mean, I've always thought it was bad. And what do you know? Last week somebody ate spinach, and this week they died. It's bad. I'm telling you, it's bad. That's me thinking it's bad, then finding some reason for it to be bad and running with it. It's probably not a great way to do it. The rest of them, in-group bias, attribution bias, and anchoring bias. The end of that slide. Sorry, I'm not so much into the psychology of it. This is where we can discuss about it. That was the psychologist role. Here's us. So we have what causes, and I put some things up there, but if you have a cause of partiality or what causes us to show favoritism, I would like to hear it. Because I just wrote down some stuff that I thought about.
I think I tend to be partial to the one who shows more attention to me and pleases me.
That goes to number 3, yeah, right.
Possibly, yeah. I can see that.
When we look at the Good Samaritan, it seems like the whole chapter is about not showing partiality and doing God's will and giving mercy. And we look at the Good Samaritan, how many people passed by the injured man, and their discernment was they chose not to give mercy, and they should have. If they were doing God's will, they should have, but it was the Samaritan who saw the person, and he discerned to do what's right, and he gave mercy. So why they did it? It had been their cousin, the other person, their family, someone they knew, but they chose not to show mercy. It's all reasons.
And of course, the first one I put down for the cause of partiality is pride. Pride's a funny thing, isn't it? Bible isn't a big fan of pride. You want to do some studies on it, try to find a place where pride is mentioned positively. I don't know if there is a place, Brother Joe. I don't think so.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think so. And we think of pride probably in a slightly different definition when we come about it. So I think we do have to maybe keep that in mind. But how can pride actually? Well, y'all hit upon a little bit. How can it cause favoritism? Maybe have you ever I don't know, maybe something in your life, you ever worked toward a college degree or a PhD and then look at somebody beside you and they don't have one? Do you have any pride in what you did? Is that, well, maybe, is that the pride we're talking about? It might be. It might be. Just depending.
Depends on how far you take it.
Yeah, it depends on our attitude.
Well, we have to be proud of our kids and things like that, or proud of our, people that do good. We have to have that pride for them. So it's not necessarily for us, but even when we accomplish a goal, we need to feel that we accomplished a goal. We don't need to put ourselves down. But pride that you see in someone you call proud, they don't have anything to do with other people that are
below them.
Condescending pride.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm officially better than you because I did this, or I did that, whatever.
Right.
I was with a man a few years ago. He had come out of a pretty rough lifestyle, and we got to talking about this, and it got kind of heated in the church where we were. He said, okay, I'm not saying I'm better than other people who are involved what I used to be in. He said, but I am sure better off, because he had to kind of cut it off because people were getting a little upset about it because, he was saying he was better than those people who are still involved in the things he used to be in. So, yeah, we can kind of get a little upset about our definitions sometimes, but I think we probably would agree that he is better off being a Christian than not.
Another thing is, like being proud of your child or being proud of your protege. That's good unless it's to the point where you're blinding yourself to people, the people, background people, knowledge people, everything. But you're picking that person because they're your protege, and that might not be the right person for the job.
We'll fix that at a later date. Don't touch it. It's like stuffing paper towels up under the table to keep it from moving around.
Joe Miller used to say that whether we're in the church or not, we're all sinners. It's just that the Christian has come to the hospital.
And my next one under causes of partiality, the first one was pride, and the second one is wrong focus. And that won't make any sense to anybody but me, so let me tell you what I think it means. Who was it? Well, it just means we're not focused on spiritual matters. Just one thing that it means to me. But who was it that was focusing on maybe something other than what he should have been focused on when it had to do with eating with other people? We talked about this already.
Peter.
Yeah, Peter. Was he focused on the spiritual side of things when he was worried about who he was eating with? Not particularly. It took a little bit of effort to get rid of his partiality. He was partial to those of his own belief, I guess, not his belief, but yeah, basically.
Yeah, I've heard stories, I've never experienced it myself, but I've heard stories of like pastors or elders or something going into the church and with themselves like they're a homeless person, just to see how the congregation reacts and to see if they accept them.
Yeah, I've seen things like that on YouTube. They got that sort of thing.
And you'd be surprised at some of the reactions you get from Christians.
Oh yeah, for sure. We don't always have the service. We're not service oriented sometimes when it comes to those who are less fortunate or those who are poor.
Walking through the door. I'm homeless, I'm nasty, I'm dirty, and I just want to hear your message. And come in and sit down, and there's stories that I've heard that, they're not even welcome to do that.
So the last one on there is under causes of partiality is seeking praise. And we did talk about that briefly. But you watch kids on the playground, what they want you to do when they're out there playing. Yeah, they want you to watch, right? Why is that? I mean, maybe they want praise from whoever's watching. I don't know. It's getting back into the psychology thing, which I said I didn't really want to get into too much. There are probably other reasons why they want you to watch, but they want to be seen, they want to be heard for sure. And they may want praise for doing it. What about you? You ever done something that you want to be noticed for?
Yeah, I think we do it because we want to know that we matter. So I think that's the wrong way of getting that point across.
You want to be noticed so that you can get something in return, maybe?
Do that, yeah, or
Maybe.
I think there's better ways to show people that they matter than to
Anyway,
get them to look at you.
yeah, I imagine we've all done things, maybe it's pretty small and innocuous, but we've probably all done things that, to get something in return.
Yeah.
Of course, once we pass 6 years old, we probably should know better, but anyway.
Well, like in the workforce, if someone delegates you to do a certain task or job, and it's, it's not necessarily strenuous, but it has a lot of moving parts to it, sometimes it's just nice to be told you did a good job and thank you. Especially if they're the ones who get the praise for it. It makes it kind of bitter, but, at the end of the day, that's between them and God. It's nice. Well, for instance, when you get there, don't you want to hear, good job?
Yeah, praise has its place, and of course, when I say seeking praise, it's something that we're doing, simply because we want to be noticed. We're not in service to God anymore at that point. So that's kind of the praise that I mean, but yeah, praising others for what they do is certainly not anything I'm against. That's in scripture constantly.
Yeah.
So I'm not teaching against that if it made it sound like that.
But going off of what he said, yeah, you want to hear, I did a good job, but that should not be the prerequisite of me doing that job. I should still, even if I don't get the praise, I should still have my own personal pride to know that I'm doing it right.
Well done, good and faithful servant seems like praise. I'll take it.
We're teaching, our people today are teaching their kids that they are the most important person in the world. A lot, because their kids run the family.
That can happen.
I've seen that, if a kid throws a fit, he gets what he wants. And, so we're teaching them that they are the most important, and then they have this pride that goes from too much praise for kids. My parents were very sure that we didn't get too much praise. And if we did something good, they would say, you did something good, and that's good, but that's what you should have done, is your best. And
That's true enough.
everybody else is doing their best too. I mean, they didn't want any of us thinking we're the best.
Participation trophies.
Yeah. Yeah, and they're not correcting them, they're wrong. A friend of mine, her grandson, 5 years old, smart mouthed her the other day. And she just went, not very hard, just, and he was like, she said he was like, when he went and told his dad, he was like, well, you said that to Dad, I did for you. But too many people today are like, oh, poor baby, and getting on the person who did that.
Jesus said, after we've done our very best, everything was done, we're still unfaithful sons.
So I didn't realize we were still in verse 1, so we should probably look at verse 2. But we're having a pretty good discussion there. It says, for if a man wearing a gold ring and fine clothing comes into your assembly, and a poor man in shabby clothing also comes in.
Yeah, that's what someone.
Yeah, we were kind of talking about that, so this one, as far as looking into it in detail, I couldn't really determine about what the assembly was, but it doesn't matter as far as our discussion. But you can't, see if I can know what that picture is. It's really small. And it'll be obvious on the next page, probably. I'll make it a little bigger for you.
Is it Hugh Jackman helping someone?
It's not.
Well, it's not Hugh Jackman, but it's
Do you know the name of the movie?
It's The Greatest Show. Isn't it from the?
No, well, no, not what I designed it to be. The next slide will have it a lot bigger.
See Big Ben in the back there.
Yeah, you know it's in London somewhere. The assembly, does it mean synagogue or a court of justice? It really doesn't change anything. I just spent a little time trying to figure out what it specifically meant in assembly. But we're gonna move on, as this is a incomplete sentence anyway. But we did talk about, yeah, what if somebody walks into the back door right now? All right, there's a little bigger, when I think about rich and poor, I think about this movie. That's Audrey Hepburn, Carrie.
It's my
You know what the
favorite.
movie is? Yes,
Yes.
My Fair Lady. I don't know if any of you are into musicals or not, but that's Rex Harrison. Harrison, yeah. She's a flower girl, for those of you who don't know. He is rich. And there's, later on in the movie, she turns into something else. She's rich now, what, more or less. When I think of, what about this person? Here's another movie.
That's good.
Good on the
Yeah.
The world.
Yeah. And because, you know, we're thinking about rich and poor, things pop into my head randomly when I start thinking about this stuff. And I put this in here. This is the last 4 lines of the song. Let me get back to my notes. All right. And lastly, as far as getting rid of some of what's in my head, I put the first one in there for Gary. Gary the Taller, as I like to call him. One of these I made up. Which one did I make up? But there's 3 statements on here. I'm gonna read you one. You get to tell me which one I made up. The first one says, money can't buy happiness, but it's more comfortable to cry in a Bugatti than a bicycle. Gary, how much does a Bugatti cost anyway? I don't even know. Yeah, like $3 million, he says, for this Bugatti. That's a car. The next one is whoever said money can't buy happiness didn't know where to shop. And the last one says, they say money can't buy happiness, but I'd like enough money to try it, just in case they're wrong. Which one do y'all think I wrote?
Well, I think it can buy happiness, it can't buy peace.
There's a lot of debate on whether it can buy happiness or not.
Well, Jesus said to go and buy a pearl of great price.
Kelsey, which one did I write? Put her on the spot. Who's at the bottom? Tina? Another on safety, Kelsey. Yeah, I wrote the bottom. It's more or less a variation of others that I've read, but I did make it up. So in case you want to send it in and get rich for that quote, you're more than welcome to.
There's a song that's like, yeah, money can't buy happiness, but it sure buy both.
Yeah, there's lots of things like that. One expression that was kind of interesting, it says, he's so poor, the only thing he has a lot of is money. So I thought that was kind of an interesting one.
Yeah.
All right, verse 3, and we're going to stop. Oh, no, well, we got 5 minutes. Verse 3, and if you pay attention to the one who wears the fine clothing and say, you sit here in a good place, while you say to the poor man, you stand over there, or sit down at my feet. Can you answer the question under accommodation? The question is, what did it take to build this building, the building that we're in? And what does it take to maintain it? This is going to be, we might get a heated discussion out of this, but let's see. What did it take to build this building? Money? Yeah, no, sacrifices too. There was a lot of planning going into it before any of us were here. Well, some of y'all were here. Before I was here. Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
A lot of prayer went
Lots
into
of
it.
labor. But I'm gonna focus on the first answer, which is money. That's what it takes. Because without it, good luck getting a tool aboard to stand up and then nail another one to it. So there's of course, you're all correct, of course, on your answers. Should we make accommodation for those who are able to maintain this building? This building costs money to maintain, right? And of course, we all donate, but maybe you can't, and maybe the next person can give $1,000 a week, whatever, it doesn't matter what the amount is. Should we make accommodations for
We
those
know
who
that
can
God
maintain?
gives us what we need. And if this is what we need, we'll get it. And we tend to, if we have a project going, like building a building or supporting a missionary or supporting anything that's good, we tend to give more. So we have what we need. But that doesn't mean that we need to stop that we want to support. So we need to give all we can.
Your 10% tithe is not supposed to be a limit. It's supposed to be.
Well, we have to, I want you to think about it now. Those of us who are older have already thought about it, and I realize maybe this is for that road there and for Kelsey, one or two more. But, because you'll find yourself in this situation, and I just want to know what you're gonna do. You're at someplace, you're donating money, and you don't like what the money's being spent on. What are you gonna do?
I think it depends on what you mean by the length of money spent on, because it's being spent on.
I mean, what do you do if you truly think your money is
spent
being?
on the passenger gambling habits, yeah, I don't have a problem with that. But if it's being spent on,
Anyway,
what a group of deacons say, okay, we're gonna give it to this person, dictating that, we're gonna give, to this charity or that charity.
Money situations are among the worst splits that the church has ever seen. So I just, like I said, particularly for those of you younger, I want you to consider what's in scripture, of course, and just consider what the right thing to do is in that situation. It's not really what we're here to discuss, but think about it. Brother Pete?
Larry, we know and we study that it's written in the scriptures that we give what the purpose in our heart. And you can be a rich person and not have purpose in your heart to give. Whatever we give, we do it to glorify God. And we go back to the widow Mike. She gave all. And to me, the person doesn't give or can't give, but in their heart, they're purposing that, oh, I wish I could do it. I think they've lifted up to God what was in their heart. But you could be rich and not have a yield and serve and do watch with God and give according to what God expects us. And it's the place in our heart that we have to understand that we give out of love for God, that His kingdom can be furthered here on this earth. And if somebody gives $1, guess what? Glory be to that person. God knows that person is thinking about Him and give it all. And we just got to be sure that we understand that, purpose in our heart. Well, if I'm purposing not to give this week because I want to buy a new fishing rod, that's totally wrong. He purposed in his heart that, and I had to do this on something you said outside. I had a purpose to give to an organization for years. When they changed some things and went against what God taught, my heart could not give to that anymore because it didn't fit the scriptures. It didn't fit what it was about originally. And you got to sometimes evaluate what you give. Now, if we come together as brothers and sisters on the first day of the week, our hearts ought to be already decided before we ever got here what is in our heart that we need to return to God. Because we definitely was blessed to make it from one week to the other.
And in verse 5, to wrap it up, it talks about verse 5, has not God chosen the poor in the world to be rich? Back to verse 3, under humility, I put poor in the world, rich in faith. My point is that if God had chosen the poor, we as rich, if we consider ourselves rich or not, really doesn't matter. Should we be giving consideration to the poor? It says God chose them, and there's a reason for that. We don't, we'll try to talk about that next week. But, if we are rich, then we should be humble, and we should give honor to those who have less or those who are poor. And that's all we have time for. We have time for another comment or two, though. Next week, we'll
I think,
start verse 4.
going by what he was saying, just because he decided not to give that particular organization for those reasons, doesn't mean he's gonna stop giving.
Yeah, we serve the Lord where we are. If we find ourselves in a different geographical place, we serve where we are.
Yeah, and, also, you gotta look at why you give it. The person that only has $1 to give, that might be more than the $1,000 somebody has because they gave it for brownie points, they didn't have it.
Well, thank y'all for listening, and some more pictures for you next week.